kids are back inside the classroom, and while it's exciting, it also may come with some fear. The recent string of mass shootings and gang violence in inner cities comes with increase in mental illness among kids. This morning on WTOL, we are taking the time to sit down and listen, and we're joined with child counselor expert Alicia Boreman, who is the clinical director of the Children's Resource Center. Alicia, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So let's first start with most kids back in the classroom or getting ready to go back. So what does that adjustment period look like for them as they get into the swing of things and their routine now that school is starting back up?
Yeah, a lot of the adjustment period can depend on the age of the child as well as whether or not they experienced a structured environment over the summer. So as we look at the beginning of the school year as well as throughout the whole school year, children who were in a structure throughout the summer may have less difficulty or challenges during that time, and they may be able to swing into the routine much quicker than children who maybe were sleeping in late or didn't really have a 6 to 7 hour structured routine throughout the summer like some of the other kids.
A lot different now that school is back.
Yes, definitely.
Talk to us a little bit about, in Toledo, we've had 30 homicides so far this year for the city, the youngest being 7 months old. Does that violence have any role in our community and how kids are being exposed in the classroom and any kind of trauma that they may face as they head back to school?
Yeah, absolutely, especially when children are exposed to social media or news articles or even watching the news. They may see or hear about different tragedies in the area or shootings, and that can impact how they feel in the classroom. And it can also provide a variety of responses that we see with kids. In schools, we may see behavioral disruptions, emotional outbursts. You may also see isolation from kids who maybe previously were very chatty or had a lot of friends. And at times, the kids may have heightened responses to situations or triggers that maybe in the classroom or even at home before didn't impact them as much. One of the really hard things with trauma responses is that it can mirror a lot of other symptoms and diagnoses. But when we talk about behavioral health, there is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's a big triangle, and in that, one of the important areas is safety. And it's very hard for children to learn or complete any sort of academic functioning if they're concerned about their environmental or physical safety.
So what are some of the things that I guess parents or teachers should really look out for if they're seeing these types of symptoms or reactions from kids?
Yeah, first would be important for the teachers to identify or just have information about whether or not there are kids in their classroom who have been exposed to or experienced a traumatic event. And the second would be to compare how they're responding now to where they were maybe last school year or previously. Does it seem off or different? That may be an indication that there's something else going on. In addition to that, it's important to create safe environments for the kids, whether it's for learning or safe environments and spaces to express their emotions. That's very important.
It seems like violence, gang violence, shootings, all we talk about, and kids see it, as you've mentioned, on social media, in the news. How do we open up those conversations and have them, I guess, both in the classroom and outside of the classroom on shootings, their safety, and what they should be looking out for?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's really no right answer, but there are a couple things that we can look to guide the children and youth in the communities and in the schools. Some of those things would be consistency in the information that we're providing and factual information. When we implement critical incident responses, we have that practice where we make sure that all the information the kids are receiving, whether it's at home where we can control it in some aspect or in the classroom, is consistent among all the adults in their lives as well as just factual. When we get into conversations about rumors or big media presence, it can cause more stress and chaos and fear for the kids. So we want to just be very mindful of that. We always want to make sure conversations are age and developmentally appropriate. Adults should have adult conversations behind closed doors and be mindful that kids hear and see a lot more than we realize they do. So that's very important as well.
And as a response to that increase, there's also been talk about increasing safety, whether it's school resource officers or adding more things technology-wise to increase that safety. How does this have an impact on students or kids who maybe have typically negative experiences with police or authority figures or stuff, those types of situations?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's gonna come right back to that trauma response. So if they've had a negative experience with a police officer or some sort of authority, they may see this person and be triggered by their past experience. So it's gonna be very important to establish good relationships right up front for the children to know that they have safe people to talk to, even if it's not the person that's there at that moment to represent a safety figure or authority figure, but to know that they have other outlets, and for people who they feel safe around to facilitate those relationships and rapport building.
Alicia, thank you so much for joining us. All that great information
Thank
for
you.
us as we head back to school.
Thanks.
And we have all of your back to class resources posted right now at WTOL.com.